Very good.
It's all Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for keeping us safe as we hear of others being persecuted for their religious beliefs. Continue to guide us in the decisions we make for the future of this city. Open our eyes and ears to discern the best candidates for our city council. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Roy, our acting sergeant at arms. We have a number of guests here tonight. We had some folks indicating that they wanted to run for school board, and I said, well, we want to try to have that for our September meeting. But some of them are here tonight, and I think over here, you want to come up and introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for the school board and what's your main issue.
This is Kathy Ryder. She's going to come up, but I just wanted to tell you that the Fountain Valley Precinct Patriots and the Huntington Beach Precinct Patriots did a candidate night for the Huntington Beach Union High School District last Wednesday, and we supported three candidates, Kathy Ryder being one of them, Dwayne Dishno the second, and Janice Mantini the third. So she has been supported by conservatives in Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley.
Can I just grab that microphone?
Sure.
I am a very local gal. I grew up in Costa Mesa. My husband came to Huntington in 1965. We raised our children here. They're proud graduates of Huntington Beach High School. I was very fortunate 3 years ago at 57 to retire, so I feel like I have a whole life ahead of me. I've been very active in my community. I'm an elder in my church. I volunteer. I've been out talking to parents and students and know that they have some real concerns. Because I do have 37 years experience working in education, I feel I have something to bring to the board. I am very fiscally conservative. I'm very concerned about making sure that we spend all of your dollars wisely. There are things I know we can do better. I really appreciate your support.
Thank you, Kathy. This is a new experience for Surf City T. This is our first ever joint meeting. And the co-hosts this evening and beg pardon? Another candidate?
Yeah, school board.
Oh, I'm sorry, another candidate back here?
Yes, Wayne.
Please come on.
Wayne.
I'm Dwayne Dishno, and I probably look familiar to some of you. At least my name is, because I was your school superintendent here in Huntington Beach until I retired. So I'm pretty local. I've been around here for 50 years. Been a teacher, an administrator, a special educator, and a superintendent. And I've been your board member for the past 2.5 years now. I'll tell you, kids are my priority. They always have been. They always will. I've spent my entire adult life as an advocate for kids, and that's exactly what I will do for the rest of my life. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe in the rule of constitutional law, and my priorities are pretty simple. Local control. We need to step up to the plate to make sure that we have better local control than what we've had in the past. Fiscal management, prudent fiscal management. One of the things I'm most proud of is that during the time I've been on the board, you saw a lot of districts going through a lot of fiscal problems. We never reduced a single day for kids. We never touched their school calendar or their school day. We never reduced any curricular offerings or programs. We never laid off their teachers in order to balance our budget. And that was through prudent fiscal management. Some people criticize the reserves that some school districts hold. I'm going to tell you that's what allowed us to get through the last rainy day that we had. So I have appreciated your support in the past for many years, and I hope you'll consider voting for me in the selection of November 4th. Thank you.
We have guests here from Huntington Beach Republican Assembly. I see them around the room. I'll introduce the president in a moment, but PJ, what is your role with
Treasurer.
your treasurer? And Gabriella, you're the secretary, and where's Mark?
He's back there behind you.
Vice President. Okay, so that's the leadership team for Huntington Beach Republican Assembly. Pat, I assume you'll explain very briefly what that is when we get to you. Before we get into the formal part of the meeting, a couple of announcements. As you know, we have a full-time legislature, and they have a staff, and they just can't help being busy. And so they're being busy on some things that we think have some negative consequences. Carol, did you find that?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to come up and briefly explain what's happening this week about the gas tax? Carol Woodward.
Thank you. I'm sorry I don't have handouts, because this is really something that requires a handout, but you know that the cap and trade bill got passed some time ago, back in 2006. Well, one of its fine features kicks in January of next year, and that's an additional tax on gasoline and diesel fuel. That tax is going to be anywhere from 16 to 76 cents per gallon. It could take an average fill up anywhere from $7 to $10 more. Right now, there are two bills before the legislature to slow this down or to stop it temporarily. One of them has been, is in the assembly. It's AB 69, and it's actually by a Fresno Democrat. It has a pretty good chance of passing, and what it does is it delays any implementation of a gas tax to 2018 to give people an opportunity to get ready for this. And maybe by then we can make a change. So frankly, it's our best shot at not having a huge gas tax increase come January of 15. So if you'd make a note of AB 69 and SB 1079, those are two bills currently before the California State Legislature that would slow down the implementation of the additional gas tax. And I don't know about you, but I don't really want to give the state of California another $10 every time I fill up. So I urge you to contact your assemblyman, not our assemblyman probably support it, but we need to reach out to the Democrat assembly members, get on the phone. They're in legislative session until the end of the month, and then they're gone. And they will vote on this before the end of the month. So it really is imperative that you contact Sacramento in the next week or so, okay?
Does 1070 slow it down or slow it? Just slow
They both slow it down. And unless you repeal AB 32, which is the cap and trade bill, you can't stop it. These are just to slow it down.
Could you name the AB, what is it?
AB 69 and SB, as in Sam, boy, 1079. And you can go online and Google these and get the information on it. If you'd like, I can forward you an email that does a really good job of summarizing it and provide you contacts of those people that it would be best to contact by phone. Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. As I said, this is a first-time event. We are co-hosting this meeting with the Huntington Beach Republican Assembly. So here now to explain what's going to happen for the rest of the evening, please welcome the Assistant Treasurer of the California Republican Assembly, former candidate for Congress, and President of Huntington Beach Republican Assembly, and Vice President of Education for the Unite OC Toastmasters, Mr. Pat Garcia.
I didn't know I was doing all that stuff. So we have some speaker roles tonight. And we want to see if these candidates for city council can follow rules. Because sometimes they can't. Okay, time rules will be strictly enforced. We're going to, each candidate will have a 5-minute opening speech or statements. Gabrielle in the back has a little bell. Let's hear your bell. And if you don't stop speaking, we're gonna gang up on you. Okay. Because we have a limited amount of time, we want everybody to have a chance to speak. We have red and green panels up here for just straight yes or no questions. If we have any, we were planning on asking some of the questionnaire, but I forgot to bring copies of the questionnaire, so.
I have questions.
Sure. And if the audience has any questions, we have pads of paper and pens over here marking opening. And we want you to write down your questions and pass them up to Ron or PJ or whoever's receptive. The idea is that each speaker will have an opportunity to answer each question. And let's see. And I guess we're ready to go. That's it. Brief modification. Ron? Do we start? Or do we have any questions yet?
I want to acknowledge in the back of the room our videographer, Mike Hoskinson. We are going to video this meeting because we've had some folks who couldn't be here and they said they really wanted to hear what the candidates have to say. So that's a direct shot video. And Mike, I get Mike, you have a direct shot on the candidates?
I do.
Okay, so we're going to ask you to fill out these written questions when all of the candidates have had a chance to say why they're running and why you should vote for them. Then we will collect those questions. I'll sort through them and try to not have too many that are asking the same thing. And I will ask questions of the candidates as you indicate. And any questions about that process, which will happen after the candidates speak?
I just wanted to let the candidates know that Gabrielle is, in addition to dinging her bell, she will be giving you green, yellow, and red, so you...
I will give you 30 seconds warning, like this. I need 30 seconds to stop, so I don't have to ring the bell. I don't know what I do with this.
Yeah, we made the decision not to charge $5 tonight, so if you can, we have a basket going around. Any loose change that you can for donations will help our treasury. Thanks very much. So I'll give this back now to our host.
Yeah, I thought you were doing part of it.
I can.
Go ahead. Okay, just a moment, I thought we had an order. Yes, we do. Okay, Mike Posey is first, and if you could make your presentation at the podium. Okay. Or the lectern, I'm sorry. Lectern. Is a microphone? If you'd like, there's one over there. Everybody hear me? Yes. No, we can't hear you. Hear me now?
It's on.
Hear me now? Now?
All right, my name is Mike Posey. I live in Huntington Beach for 15 years with my wife. We live on Main Street downtown. Been involved with the city since probably 2005 or 6 when I started on the parade board. I served on the 4th of July parade board for a couple of years. On the finance board to help raise money. Why I'm running for city council is because I think we've got too much small government, or too much small thinking in city government with bag ban, fireworks ban, some of those things that should be left to the voters to decide. But I'm endorsed right now by the Orange County Republican Central Committee, the Lincoln Club, Dana Rohrabacher, Travis Allen, Matt Harper, Jim Silva, and many others. We're also, Huntington Beach is approaching a tipping point with government with 4 left-leaning council members and 3 on the right been faced with things like rent control ordinances for mobile home parks, which can lead to other things. We have a lot of other things coming up. Growth I know some people are concerned about growth and density. I think density is going to be something that we have to manage with increasing population. We need young people in this town, but we also don't need traffic. What we need for these young people is jobs. And one of the things that I want to do is reach out to the business community and enhance economic development. One of the things I saw in Torrance is that Torrance lost Honda, and that was 3,000 people that left town, 3,000 good jobs. Toyota, I'm sorry. We want to make sure that we don't get surprised like that in Huntington Beach as well. We only have, when I was on the Huntington Beach General Plan Update workshop, I learned that only 11% of Huntington Beach residents work in Huntington Beach, 89% of them leave town. What I would like to do if I get elected is establish an outreach group of business owners and concerned citizens to make sure that we're in touch with the business community, know that when these businesses are expanding or contracting or thinking about moving out, that we get them to stay. We want people to stay, businesses to stay to attract the jobs. I know pensions are a big issue too that needs to be looked at with some sound economic development. We can increase some revenue to hopefully bridge that gap. A couple of things that I've done as a planning commissioner to vote to help enhance economic development are 2 hotels, Pasea and the Spring Hill Suites in Edinger. Those 2 hotels, trans-occupancy taxes alone are going to bring in about $1.5 million a year to the city. In growth, and kind of bouncing back and forth, in growth, we also have to manage smart growth. One of the votes that I had to vote on was controversial, and that was the Wintersburg-Nichols, Wintersburg historic property that's owned by Rainbow Environmental Services. Rainbow bought that property from the Fruta family when the Fruta family was going to sell it and build 66 condos. 66 condos is probably not well suited for a piece of property across the street from Rainbow Environmental. Rainbow wanted to rezone it to commercial industrial, which is, we think, more suited for that. That's a good example of managing growth and smart development. And I'd like to earn your vote. Fiscal conservative. My track record on the Planning Commission shows it. And I'd like to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Posey, remember his name, right? Our next candidate speaking is Barbara DeBlaise.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara DeBlaise, and it's great to see so many interested and concerned citizens out here this evening. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've lived in the city 40 years, raised my daughter here, and I'm proud to tell you I'm a longtime real estate broker. I'm celebrating my 39th year in business this December. And as a real estate broker, I'm an advocate for my community every single day. And I want people to live here and I want people to stay here. I want people to raise their children here and have good schools. And more importantly, just have a community that's strong and healthy and good job base. Education has always been very, very important to me, and I appreciate learning new things. And I was fortunate to be chosen to represent the realtor community on the infrastructure committee about 12 years ago. And it was a committee that was met for 2 years, once a month, and that was really the premises for me to get very involved. I've been a long-time member of the chamber, and out of being in that committee, I realized how important not only our infrastructure is, but how important our businesses are. Because if we don't have solid business and good economic growth, we can't pay for our infrastructure. And there's a lot of things, if you folks live here, you know what I'm talking about. Roads, sidewalks, streets, things like that need attention. I also was the chair of the chamber in 2009, and that same year we got to celebrate the centennial, and it was an opportunity for me to meet a lot of people in the community, nonprofits, businesses, all across the community. And in 2008, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, and I was the chair in 2011. And I've attended numerous study sessions over the years, Besides being a member of the chamber, I've been a longtime advocate and member of the Council on Aging. I'm a big proponent of the seniors and the dedication that they've given to our community. I'm passionate about the environment, and we can manage our environment well here in the city. Proactively, I have met with many of our city department heads to understand the needs better in our community. And also, I recently have served on a number of committees locally, so I can have a better understanding of how those impact our everyday living here. Water is a concern. We're blessed to have an aquifer, but we don't know how long that may be strong and healthy. We have other things like this serious drought that we're in now, things impacting that. I've been on probably 4 or 5 water trips to the northern part of the state to understand better how we get our water and how to better conserve it. I also was a graduate of the RJ Mayor Leadership Academy, and that's a great opportunity to understand the city as well, to see behind the scenes. I'm currently serving on the board of the Marketing and Visitors Bureau. And many of you have lived in the city a very, very long time. And why is that important today? Well, you probably remember that at one time we were an oil community, and then we were a farming community. And then we had a lot of homes built, right? So we created suburbia. And luckily for us, we had a McDonnell Douglas Boeing, which created a real big job base. And aerospace solidified a lot of people coming to Huntington Beach and buying homes. Tourism now has sort of taken that place. We are fortunate to have the coastline that we have. We are stewards of that coastline. We must take care of it. 10 miles and some of the most beautiful pieces of real estate. And we have beautiful hotels that hopefully we can have another one here online, because it's those tax dollars that are going to help us keep our city and infrastructure strong. We must hire more police officers, our public safety, not only for 195,000 residents, but for the tourism the tourists that come to our city. We need to let them know that we welcome them and that they're protected, just like our residents are. We can do a better job downtown with wayfinding signs. The benefit of Pacific City is it's going to have new businesses and new tax dollars to our city. I'm also a very proud finisher of the Huntington Beach Marathon, and my time was 3 hours and 58 minutes. And I don't tell you, thank you. I don't tell you all of this to impress you. I want to tell you this to impress upon you. I'm very dedicated. I've done my homework. I've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I request gratefully your vote in November, and I look forward to serving you as your next city councilwoman. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Our next speaker is candidate for city council, Erik Peterson.
Let's start off to say thank you, Carol, for coming up and telling us about the wonderful things the Democrats have done to our state. They keep passing all these things, and then they make all these rules to delay it. One of the things in that cap and trade bill that they haven't delayed is forcing cities to urbanize, forcing cities into high-density development. And our Beach Editors Specific Plan is based on that. It's based on those standards set by the state. And we've had some good developments in it, and we've had some bad developments in it. And currently we have, it's coming up for review. And I'm very excited that it's coming up for review because I don't think the impacts have been looked at in our city. The traffic impacts, the impacts on our infrastructure. I believe we're building all this, but we're not taking that money that we're supposed to do to maintain and make our infrastructure more robust and actually doing that. We're just connecting to our old stuff. So I want to make sure as we go forward that we are being responsible with our development, that we're not just building for residents, that we're building for our community, that we're building facilities that will attract white-collar jobs, not blue-collar jobs. We have enough. We have a lot of service in Huntington Beach. Like Barbara said, we're a tourist city, so we have a lot of blue-collar, minimum wage jobs around here. We don't need more of those. We need to bring in some higher paying jobs. And with facility, we need to have facilities to attract those types of businesses. Secondly, I mean, there's not one person up here that's going to say they don't want more police, more fire, more safety, more anything. We all want that. Our biggest problem is paying for it. We need to make sure that we're responsible at the negotiating table and we're responsible to the people actually paying the bills, the taxpayers. So right now, our employees cost about 71% of the budget, a little more. Okay, in a well-managed city, it's around 60 to 65%. So how do we fix that? What's the solution? Well, boost our economy, right? Get those jobs coming in, get that tax, the hotels that we were talking about, anything like that. We get more revenue into the system. That's part of the problem. The other part of the solution, the other part is to work with our public employee unions. We've promised them, certain things, and we don't want them to retire and lose what we've promised them. So in order for us to fulfill those promises, we need to work with them from this time forward so that we are responsible with the new hires, with the new employees coming on. So as a city council candidate, I originally started, with finance board. I was there for a couple of years, looking at the finances. I was worried about the city finance. Where were my tax dollars going? After that, I got put on the planning commission. So I've looked at it from a financial standpoint of the city, and I've looked at it, and I've sort of seen how the city's looking at development to say, hey, development's going to get us out of that. But development's not going to solve every problem we have. It's one-time money. If we do the development, we need more fire, we need more police. Well, we need to pay for that. We need to fix our infrastructure. We need to pay for that. And all we get is one-time money and then some tax revenue, but we only get about 1% of that property tax. It's a big amount, but not enough to cover our liability. So as a council candidate, I'm going to first and foremost think of this city that I've grown up in, that I've raised my family in, that my wife teaches in the school district here, that my business is in. I'm going to think of this city that I want to retire in, and what do I want it to look like when I'm some of your ages, not going to, got some retirees here. When I'm your age, I want to be here, and I want it to be that Huntington Beach that I grew up in. I don't want it to look like Santa Monica. I don't want the traffic that we do, but I want it to be done responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Erik. Okay, our next speaker, candidate for city council is Semeta.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and giving us this opportunity. A little bit about myself. I graduated from Huntington Beach High School and then went to UCLA to receive my bachelor's, and then down to the University of San Diego School of Law for my Juris Doctorate. And I was in a partnership law firm down there doing business and real estate transactional work. And I come from a family that is very dedicated to community service. And so right away, I became quite involved in my community down there. I was chair of the Community Services Committee of the Bar Association. And in that role, I worked with homeless veterans doing pro bono legal services to help them with their legal problems, to get them back off the streets. I also worked with battered women. I volunteered down at the court helping them get restraining orders. And I was chair, or rather president of the Gaston Porter Foundation, where we worked with developers to redevelop the historic buildings down there. At the time, it was panhandlers and dive bars, and really it's been so revitalized. It's a beautiful area today. But we had our children, my husband and I, and we decided we wanted to move back here and raise our children in this environment, this wonderful city. So we came back in '96 and bought our home, and right away I became involved again in my community because my daughter was diagnosed with autism. So as an attorney, I was approached by other parents and asked to sue the school district on their behalf because they weren't happy with the services. But that's not who I am. As I said, I've done a lot of community service, and I'm a collaborator. I'm someone that believes that we need to work together, and when people have differing and opposing viewpoints, let's find the commonality and work together. So instead, what I did is I became chair of a group called Autism Resource Circle, and we tried to really bridge the gaps between the school districts and the parents, find commonality. We did a lot of education, we did roundtable discussions where we would try to bring those two groups more closely in line, because the teachers wanted to teach and do the right thing. And in any case, we made a lot of progress there, kind of channeling funds away from litigation and more into better services. I then was appointed by Dave Sullivan to the Investment Advisory Committee and started learning a little bit more about the financial situation in our city. Became concerned. And then I was appointed to the Planning Commission, and again, started becoming more concerned about what I was seeing with development. I didn't have to be on the Planning Commission to see all the traffic and some of the other problems that were going on around our city that Erik was mentioning. That was pretty obvious, and as I talk to people around the city, that seems to be the primary concern that comes up with most people is, what are we doing to the city with this high density development going on down the Beach and Edinger corridor? Why do we have so much traffic? So if I were on city council, that's something I definitely would also want to work on. I think that the fact that we are updating our general plan is a good thing right now. We all need to get involved and see that the direction goes where we want it to go. Another thing that I'm passionate about and would like to work on in city council is making this more of a business-friendly city. We kind of have a reputation out there. I talk to business owners who, they live in Huntington Beach, but yet their business is elsewhere because it's too onerous, it's too burdensome, there's a lot of delays, a lot of fees getting through the system. We need to change that. City council is a policy-setting body, and we need to put policies in place that will change that. Same thing with economic development. Mike Posey mentioned the idea of really reaching out more to the business community. That's something I also believe we need to do. Maybe we need an ombudsman. That's just our whole role, is really reaching out more to the community and finding out what we need to change to bring more business, recruit more business to our city. I also just a very strong believer in our Constitution. And I think that any rights that we are, the current city council majority has done a lot of trying to curtail those rights. And you know, the power is in the people in our Constitution. That's the way it needs to stay. And curtailing rights by passing these bans and restrictions without really compelling reasons, it's a slippery slope. We don't want to go down that slope. And so I think that without that very compelling reason, we should not be putting those types of bans in place. I think that one of the things I also would like to work on more is getting our fair share of state funds for things that we want to, like building the senior center. We need to get that senior center built. But you know, there are state park funds and other things out there that are available to us that we can try to seek, and I'd like to work on that. I also would like for the state and the county to not try to push the toll lanes down our throats. I think that's something we should all work on opposing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn. You can make sure I don't forget this time. Okay, anybody that has questions, please start passing them in this direction. And Mark and BJ will pick them up. I know you guys have questions. Are we missing a speaker? Last but not least, and don't break my microphone, Dylan. The person that doesn't need a microphone is Willie Obama.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Billy O'Connell, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. A little bit about Billy. I was born in New York City and I was raised in Ireland. I came back to New York when I was 17 years of age with $300 in my pocket from catching fish in Ireland. I went to school. I worked 3 jobs to pay my way through school. I graduated at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York City. In 1990, I came to California, where I was a sheriff up in Los Angeles for several years. In 1998, I saw a need in the community. I saw a huge need and decided to do something about it. We saw a lot of homeless women and children on our streets. We started an organization from the tailgate of a pickup truck. And I'm proud to share with you tonight, we've taken over 3,000 homeless women and children off the streets. And we're not a handout, we're a hand up. We're about empowering people. Last year, we helped over 150 women find work and retain it. We also reunified over 20 mothers and 50 children. That's some of the stuff that I've done in Orange County and in our community. The reason why I'm running for City Council is I love this community. And I believe that public safety is very important. Building our business community and addressing the needs of our business community is also very important. And I strongly believe that we need to do something about our public infrastructure. I've been a member of the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce, the Kiwanis Club, and I've also been a graduate of the HBRA Academy here in Huntington Beach. I believe in giving back. I believe there's greater days ahead for us in the city. And I also think the revisitation of the Huntington Beach Edinger plan is going to be also very good. I believe in limited government. I am totally opposed to the plastic bag ban. I'm also strongly opposed to the fireworks ban in our city. Government has no business telling us what to do with our fireworks and whether we can shop with plastic bags or paper bags. They have no business. Government has overreached in that situation. I believe in the Constitution. I also believe that we as individuals, that the City Council should make policies where they answer to the people. It's very, very simple for me. You don't spend more money than you take in. Each and every one of us in this room tonight has a household budget that we gotta live by. And that's the way I have always operated my own personal life and the businesses that I run. I think things have to change in City Hall, especially with the business community. 3 weeks ago, I was over in Sunset Beach talking to a business owner, and they had a table outside of their business. But to put an umbrella on top of that table, they had to get a permit. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this when I saw that. And this has to stop. Government needs to stay out of our business. When I served on the Public Works Commission and the acting vice chair, there was times when they wanted to increase water fees, and I strongly opposed that. I believe we're overtaxed and we need to stop these fees that they add upon us. So that's who I am. I love this community, and I would really, really appreciate your vote. But what I can also share with you, the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce has endorsed me. I'm a builder of bridges, not fences. I know how to go out and talk with people. I've also been endorsed by organized labor. So that there isn't too many candidates out there that you can see that can go out and work with groups. And I have put a lot of my own money into this race. So I won't be controlled by any special interest groups. That's who I am. I'm here to represent you, the people, and build a better community for the people that come behind us. Thank you so much, and I would really appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Billy. Okay, Ron asked me to explain about the Huntington Beach Republican Assembly. After this meeting, the Republican Assembly members are going to remain here, and including a lot of these candidates who are also Republican Assembly members, and vote to endorse for City Council. And we'll vote for up to, I believe there's 4 openings, is that correct? So we can vote for up to 4 people. And if they don't get 2/3 of the vote of the caucus, they don't get endorsed. So that's what's going to happen afterwards at 8:30. You can stay and watch the proceedings if you want. It's open to everybody, but only members can vote. Okay? So we're going to try some yes and no questions since we're doing so well on time. And you guys can use your cards. You guys have those figured out already? Okay. And we're collecting questions as we go. And after these few questions, you guys have answered these questions already in the except for one. The first question is, do you support the creation of permanent and or metered parking areas in and around downtown Huntington Beach? Yes or no?
Hold them up.
All right. That's more enthusiastic. That's a no. And I assume everybody said no. Yeah, I meant to bring these printed, but I left them on my printer, and so I'm trying to go through them on my phone.
Could you explain to the audience what colors mean?
Oh, red is no. Green is, who wants to guess what green is? Is yes. I was going to make different rules about that. Anyway. Oh, thank you. Okay, let's see.
Are
The
you in
question,
favor of metered parking downtown
meter parking
or
downtown.
permit? No, you're adding.
Well, I'm for taking the meters out too, but you know, I'm not running for city council, so. Okay, here's one, these are questionnaires that we sent out to the candidates ahead of time. And they, like I said, they've already answered most of these questions, but we wanted you guys to hear them too. We thought this would be an easier way rather than to pass out, 100 copies of this stuff. Do you support the plastic bag ban in Huntington Beach? That's the whole question. Okay, I guess that's unanimous too. Well, you guys want to hear constitutional questions too?
Sure.
Yeah, all right. Let's go back to this one then. Does the Second Amendment protect only a limited right to keep and bear arms? Hold them up, guys. Okay, everyone says no? Okay, all right.
Repeat the question.
Repeat the question?
Stand a little closer to the microphone.
Okay. Does the Second Amendment protect only a limited right to keep and bear arms?
I don't understand the question.
The question is, can government limit your right to keep and bear arms? Like, oh, well, you can have this gun, but you can't have this other gun. Or can you, you have to wait to get a gun, 30 days or that kind of stuff.
Or you can charge a special tax on red bullets.
Right, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Next one.
I have another constitutional question. Hopefully, this one's. Is the Constitution of the United States a living document?
No.
Okay. We have a dissenter. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Okay. Should the city of Huntington Beach be involved in rent control of private property?
No.
I'm curious to see the answers too, so excuse me. Let's see. Should there be a prohibition against fireworks on the 4th of July in Huntington Beach? Okay. We have a patriotic punch here. That one. Okay, we're down to our last one. Do you believe Huntington Beach? Well, no, that's not a yes or no question. I can't answer that one. I can't quite ask that one. Well, yes, I can. Do you believe City of Huntington Beach city government is too small?
No.
Okay, do you believe the Huntington Beach city government is just right?
Yeah.
Do you believe, this is the Goldilocks question, Huntington Beach city government is too large?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a yes. Okay. All right, that's it for the lightning round. I'm going to turn the rest of the question and answer segment over to Ron Higby, who's actually better at this than I am, right?
False modesty. In case we didn't make the housekeeping clear, at any time, if Mother Nature calls, restrooms are right through that door there. So, has everybody had a chance to turn in a question that wants to? Do I have all of them? Okay. We set the agenda for tonight that we would be finished no later than 8:15. So we are well ahead of schedule, depending on how these questions get answered. We may find ourselves sliding into the 8:15
There's a timer for
time.
the answer. Timer. It's 1 minute per answer.
Oh, okay, well, Gabriella, let's be clear about that. That's going to be 1 minute per person.
Per answer.
For example, if I ask a question that all 5 have to answer, you're going to give each of them a minute?
Yes. I think they all get to answer.
No.
Well, there's a couple that have been directed just to one person.
No, but Ron, all candidates should have the opportunity to answer all questions.
Yes, but it's 1 minute.
Right, okay, so candidates, are you all clear about that? Okay.
1 minute to answer.
Yeah, Barbara, I noticed the sun was really beaming in on you a while ago. Okay, folks, these aren't in any particular order. I just tried to sort them out. Several of them have to do with the density and apartment issues, so I'm going to save them for last. And then we have a couple on the desalination plant. I'll do them before the density. So I'm just going to take these questions as I have them here.
And then I'm gonna start looking this last one.
Okay, question number 1. Have you ever been supported by or received money for a campaign by a public employee union?
No. Yes.
Oh yeah, you can use your card.
Yes, yes, or no?
Okay. I don't, thank you, that's the question. Okay, some of you may want to elaborate on this, but I'm going to ask it and we'll get their vote, and then if any of them want to elaborate on their answer, we'll give them up to 1 minute. Would you vote for pension reform for all city union employees? Okay, so is that clear? They would all vote for some sort of reform. Now, does anybody want to elaborate? Okay.
We're gonna do this really fast.
All right, the next question from Ann Hinkie. Where do you stand on the senior center? So why don't we just...
Build it now.
Yeah, let's just start down at the end with Barbara, we'll just work our way this way.
I just want to pass.
Can you pass mine? Thank you. I'm in favor of the senior center being in Central Park. I have been since it came across the desk that I was serving on at the time. Numerous locations were considered throughout the community. Old school sites were considered. One of the reasons we chose that the Central Park was because the city already owns the land. So if you want to take an old school site and then demo it, it costs zillions of dollars to mitigate that. The other thing you must consider, and you've got to consider this today with cars going in and out of a neighborhood, residents are not going to be happy with shuttle buses going in and out of their neighborhood. And we have a lot of shuttle buses at the senior center. So I believe the Golden West location is ideal because it's a main artery in the community. It's the center of the city, and it can not only serve the seniors, but our own community as a community center. Thank you.
I strongly believe that the senior center should be built in the park. The citizens of this city voted, and they voted in favour. But unfortunately, there was a bunch of people who were obstructionists that tied it up in court and cost the city well over $1 million to defend it. It's very simple for me. The seniors in our community built this city, and I have volunteered, and our seniors, I see a lot of them on fixed income, struggling. Sometimes they're housebound, and it would be nice where they could have some place to go the latter years of their life where they can enjoy it. Very, very simple for me. Let's build a senior center for the people that have earned it.
I support the senior center of the park too. It's an ideal location. The voters have already voted on it, and I echo Billy's sentiment that there were obstructionists that sued to stop it. One of the obstructionists is our opponent on the city council race, and it should be built soon. It should be built right away. Thank you.
And I also am very much in support of getting that senior center built as soon as possible. Again, the voters voted for it, we need to honor that vote. And the other thing is the senior center really is a community center at large. I am on the Huntington Beach Art League board. We have our meetings there. We bring people from all over the county to workshops there. It's a point of pride that we need a nice senior center, so yes.
I voted for it when it came through planning commission, so I've always been for it. I find it ridiculous that the people who opposed it this whole time are trying to get the groundbreaking done before their election so they can have their name on a plaque. Which is just ridiculous. But yeah, we need it. Corona Del Mar has a gorgeous one. Ours will be better.
By the way, we were not able to get name tags for the candidates. Is everybody clear about who's who up there?
Budget constraints.
Barbara,
Yeah, I'm Barbara, that's Billy.
Billy O'Connell.
Mike, Lynn, and Eric. Okay. Next question is really an open-ended question. Try to respond within 1 minute on this one. What will you do to enhance liberty in Huntington Beach in view of the recent ordinances that have been passed?
Okay. Best way to start that is just go through all our ordinances and find out what we don't need. We'll have a charter review also coming up in the next couple years. That's a good place to go through and make sure that our citizens, our rights are protected and their liberties are protected. And I'll fight for that. I mean, our city council, our government needs to be involved in providing for public safety, fixing the infrastructure, and our city services, providing those. Not telling us how to take our bags home, what to do on the 4th of July, what pets we can and can't buy, social ordinances that are unconstitutional. We don't need to be involved in that. We need to be here for what municipal government is for, the basics. Thanks.
Similarly, I would want to look at what ordinances we have now that we can repeal and get rid of because we don't need them. We need to, again, limited government, stay out of our lives other than what you really need to be involved in. Small role, as Erik said, public safety, public infrastructure. But other than that, we don't need these kind of ordinances, and so I would work hard to get rid of as many as we have that aren't appropriate.
Well, some of the ordinances that I think the city shouldn't have passed, and that's the bag ban, and equally important is requiring stores to charge 10 cents for the bag. If city council would require the stores to charge 10 cents for a bag, why not require the stores to charge 10 cents for broccoli? It goes on and on and on. Or mandate healthcare, we know where that's going. Fireworks is another issue that the city should have been involved in banning. Bringing both of those to the voters in the ballot initiative was a great thing. The plastic bag ban is what brought to the voters, but the fireworks is. I don't think the city government should be involved in rent control either. I've spoken to the city council about plastic bags and fireworks on many occasions, and less is more, I think. Thank you.
I would have to agree with what a lot of the previous candidates just mentioned here. First thing I would do is I would overturn that ban on plastic bags, fireworks. The city has no business telling property owners what to do in charging rents. I own property here in the city. I have worked hard for it. I've made sacrifices. I've gone without so I could buy that property. The last thing I need is somebody in City Hall telling me what rent I can charge for that. I also believe that we have to make things much easier for our business. We have to roll out the red carpet. There's so much red tape involved in trying to do business in the city. Government needs to take a look at that. What I can tell you, there's some good things happening. Our fire department chief has started a strategy where basically he now has a permit technician. So when you go in, it expedites the process to get a permit. Well, that's a good start. We need to keep this rolling. Thank you.
I'm like the other candidates, I'm absolutely in favor of the city staying out of limiting us as residents. The plastic bag ban, again, just another perfect example of fireworks. We actually lost a couple of pet shops. They went to other communities because they outlawed having puppies sold in the stores. Yeah, which is a good thing, it's just that the city never gave the business owners a chance to figure out a way to have their businesses stay here. And that's the problem. If we're not proactive with our businesses, we end up losing our businesses. Styrofoam is another example. They wanted to ban all the styrofoam. So fortunately, the Huntington Beach Chamber stepped up and had the stakeholders come around the table and talk about the needs and why they were doing that. And they were able to communicate appropriately to the council people, so they pulled it. They didn't bring it forward. But I can assure you that would have been a 4-3 vote, stopping, and of course, against rent control. Thank you.
Okay, before I ask the next question, just a little background. The city council has the responsibility for setting the budget. The negotiations with the employee unions take place between the staff and the representatives of the unions. So this next question is sort of an open-ended question. Let's see how the candidates handle it. And I guess we may as well start down with you, Barbara, because the microphone's down there.
Sure.
Who will you represent in negotiations with public sector unions negotiations?
Okay, if I understand your question, who am I going to be representing? I'm not going to be negotiating on behalf of the city. Is that what you're asking?
The way it's worded is, who will you represent in negotiations with the public sector unions?
Well, I will tell you, for the last couple of years, because this pension issue has grown so hugely in our community, everywhere, not just in our community, all the cities, the entire state. I've served on a pension reform committee through the Association of California Cities, and learning best practices, what all cities are doing to try and prevent this from doing them all under. And one of the suggestions in this last go-around, we did not, the council did not represent the unions. They hired a lawyer to do the negotiations. So I don't see myself as a city councilwoman negotiating on behalf of the unions. I think whoever we hire, whether it's a lawyer or we have the city manager, whoever's doing the negotiations, at the end of the day, it's what's best for our taxpayers and to provide us the city services that our city requires. Public safety, our municipal services, taking care of our infrastructure. So if that means hiring, tiered events, tiered meaning new hires coming in at different pensions than what the other ones were. Thank you.
For those of you who haven't figured out by now, I've spent a little time in Ireland. I have an Irish brogue. But what I can tell you is some people accuse me of being Scotch. I will represent the people. I will represent the people. I will advocate for the best deal possible for the citizens of this city when it comes to negotiations. But I also will tell you that I want to see a strong police force in our city. I want to see a great business community. I want to see our public infrastructure taken care of. On that note, good things are happening in the city also. I spoke with the city manager before I came here tonight, and basically they have a plan in place where they're dropping the liabilities for our pension over the next 10, 15 years. They're down paying, or they're prepaying our pension obligations, which will save the city somewhere around $53 million. That's a start in the right direction. New hirees that are coming in will be on a different pension plan. So I think we're moving in the right direction. A lot more has to be done, but you're not going to be able to turn any aircraft carrier on a dime. That's where I feel, and that's where I see myself working with the city and with you to make things happen.
Well, I'll answer your question more directly. The answer to the question is to represent you. We'll negotiate for the people. I've spent some time with the police, went on a ride-along, spent some time with the president of the HBRA. And our police force costs a lot of money. We pay higher than most. We pay a lot higher than the city of LAPD, and that's because our police force, we want lateral transfers in. That means experienced, high-quality police officers, not entry-level recent graduates. We want well-trained, high-quality police officers. The current contract is that requires the city police to pay 8% of their own income into their pensions. So we're making the right steps in the right direction. The pay down for the unfunded pension obligation, like Billy said, is accelerated from 30 years to 24 years. There's some ideas to generate more revenue to pay it down even quicker. I think economic development is the key, and also keeping a lid on other expenses as well, so, thank you.
Yes, who I would be representing are the taxpayers, are all of you, and, you know, we need to have the money to pay for what we need to pay for in a city, public infrastructure and the other services, and if so much of it is going to employee pensions, we don't have that money. So, yes, there are plans in place to pay it down quicker than it's been, but they're not enough. There really needs to be more of a push to change that. So I would be representing the taxpayers and working on that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Like Lynn said, I'm here to represent you. I have no problems with the police department. I do have a problem with the unfunded liability. They have a plan to pay part of it down, but that liability grows exponentially every year. So they're just trying to get somewhat of a handle on it. I think we need really true pension reform more than what the governor passed. And I believe our negotiations should be transparent because it's our tax money. This isn't a private corporation that decided to unionize. This is public money. And I think we should have as much transparency as we can in these negotiations. And I'll be there to represent you.
I hope some of you in the audience are thinking, how would I answer that question? Okay, next question it has to do with ethics. The city of Huntington Beach has a history of city council members who have been engaged in, quote, conflict of interest, unquote, issues. Therefore, do you own or work for a business based in Huntington Beach or that does business in Huntington Beach? Some of you addressed this, but if you could answer that question again.
I own a business in Huntington Beach. Since I've been involved in Huntington Beach, I try not to do any business in Huntington Beach, just because the rules on planning commissions are very strict, more so than the city council. So I'm an electrical contractor. There's plenty of work outside of the city. When I'm out of office, maybe I'll start working on Huntington Beach again.
I can absolutely assure you I have absolutely no conflict of interest. I do not represent any businesses in the city, and there's no issue there for me. So, thank you.
Yes, my responsibility or my day job is selling high-tech machinery in 11 western states. Huntington Beach is a microscopic part of my territory. And while in office, since I've been in the planning commission, I haven't solicited and will not while I'm in office. So I've got plenty of business outside of the city.
I own a business in the city of Huntington Beach, and I'm proud to do business in the city, and I will follow all government guidelines, and if there's anything within 500 feet, I'll be more than glad to abstain from that.
I have a business here in the city. I've lived here for 40 years. I'm proud of my business. Like Billy said, I will follow all the rules and regulations that are required. Serving on the planning commission, you are required to disclose if you have any kind of business or relationship that you could benefit from, any product like that. I did that always and disclosed it. Have no problem doing that as a city councilwoman. Thank you.
Okay, the next is a clarification question from Margaret to Mike. Where on Edinger is the new hotel you mentioned going to be built?
Big O Tires property right across the street from Bellevue.
Everybody hear that?
Repeat, please. How are we supposed to get to the freeway? We can't go up Gothard.
We live at Edwards and Edinger. There is so much high density now. We can't hardly get to the freeway. We won't. Right now we can't go north on Gothard because of everything being built on both sides of the street going to Center Drive. We can't go down Edinger, and now you're going to build a new hotel. I think this is ridiculous. And while I've got the mic, let's have a new city attorney in Michael Gates.
we have several questions related to density, and I'm saving them for last, which will be preceded by several questions on the desalinization plant. So,
Cool.
okay, working our way down, the next question from Dorothy is, are you interested in preserving, let me start again. Are you interested in preserving Winters Barn as a historic trust? Where's the mic?
It was alluded to earlier that the Wintersburg was sold to Rainbow about, 7 or 8 years ago. And the Ferhuda family at that time never mentioned any concerns about their property. And the reason Rainbow bought it is they didn't want 66 condos across the street from a trash receptacle, okay? And what happened is Rainbow bought it, and I believe personally that they've been held hostage. Their land has been, their private property rights. And so my short answer is no. I think had the private owner previously said to Rainbow, when they were selling the land, we've got some real concerns about the buildings that are here, they're historical. We could have done a little bit more, negotiating at that time. It never was done that way. So in the transaction, it was bought fairly, privately, and Rainbow does have the right to sell the property if they choose to or keep it. Thank you.
It's very simple for me. I'm a big believer in private property rights, and from my understanding, there is no legal covenants against that property. When Rainbow bought that property, I also believe that they gave folks the option to move the property that was on there. So as far as I'm concerned, whoever owns the property has the right to do what they feel very simple.
Yeah, Wintersburg now is owned by Rainbow Environmental Services. They bought it, paid about, just under $5 million for it. And at the Planning Commission meeting, we had a parade of academics come up and ask that be preserved. And I don't remember anybody from that side offering to put any money in. All of the money it's like the game of musical chairs. The owners get to sell it. They sell it, they take the money, and then they say, not them, but everybody comes out of the woodwork and says, okay, now you're stuck, we want you to preserve it, we want you to convert this into a museum. And I think it's appalling. I think that, if the original owners got to choose profit over preservation, so do the new owners. Thank you.
Well, I'm also a strong believer in private property rights. I do believe there was an attempt there was a delay where people could raise money to buy it and move it and so forth, but nothing happened with that. And so there was a chance given, but it didn't come forward. And so, yes, at this point, Rainbow should have the right to do what they want with their property. So.
Lynn was correct. They did, the city council did allow a little more grace period for people to raise money and try to buy that back from Rainbow, and they didn't. And I'm happy with the project that came through with Planning Commission, that it is a little more industrial, strip mall, and not a bunch of apartments there, or not a bunch of condos. So they're trying to keep that area. It is industrial, so they're building warehouse type stuff, and I think they should be able to go forward with that.
Okay, candidates, here's a chance to use your little ballots in front of you. If you are in favor of the question, show the green side. If you are opposed to the question, show the red side. Question: will you work to repeal the plastic bag ordinance? Now, here's a little more complicated question, so we'll start with the microphone and work on down. Do you support anti-fracking policy, regulations, and laws, or are you pro-energy, and why?
Well, I support fracking. I support the oil industry. This is what built, and people who are against the oil industry they can walk around naked. Because everything we wear, everything we drive, everything we have needs oil. And we have a mass amount of oil in this country, and we're buying it from other people, which is just ridiculous. And we have so much oil between us and Catalina that, you know, Huntington Beach could be fine on those reserves. So I am for any oil, pulling oil from the earth when we can.
I also am in favor of allowing fracking to happen. I think, why should we be beholden to people in the Middle East for our oil supply? Let's be stronger ourselves and have more supply here. So yes, I think I'm in favor of fracking.
Definitely in favor of fracking. We're sitting on top of probably perhaps the largest oil reserve in the world, Monterey Shale. We should be energy independent and not energy dependent, especially with being dependent on people that don't even like us.
I strongly support developing any oil resources that we have. I believe that we should try and reduce the price of gas, and the last thing I want to do is send American money over to the Middle East where they turn around and use it against us. I got a huge problem with that.
I agree with my colleagues, and I'd also like to say that we can do it, it can be done wisely, and it can be done smartly. And my God, all of us are sitting here, we're inherited this beautiful community, this town that was built on oil. How could we possibly turn our backs on it? So I'm absolutely in support of being energy independent and fracking. Thank you.
The next question has the title, "The Thumb on Our Neck," and it's from Jim Kirk. Parking violation fees for those who forget to move a car for street sweeping is excessive. Are we making or losing funds on meter maids and accompanying traffic vehicles? How about reducing these fines to what they were in 1950? This has to do with regulating and city revenues. We'll start down at that end.
Well, that was before I was born, so I can't speak to that, 1950. I do know this, that our meters that we have now and our parking fees actually contribute over $1 million every year to the city. So the money is being used wisely, it's going back into our community.
I wasn't born in the 50s either, but what I can tell you is, you know, if we're citizens of this city, you know, I think the residents, if they forget to move their car, you know, they should be given a pass once in a while. Once in a while, yes. I strongly agree with that. You know, we don't want to be nickel and diming our residents to death. Give them a break once in a while. Thank you.
Well, I like to be nickel to dime either, but I only got one ticket for leaving my car on Main Street, and that was the last time I got a ticket. I always remember, so it took me one ticket to not forget. So.
Well, I mean, I like the idea of a warning, but I think that would be really hard to enforce.
Yeah.
How does that meter maid know that you're the person who was there last time? So that would be tough. I do think we have too many fees and taxes and so forth, so perhaps I'd be more in favor of reducing it to something more reasonable, because I do think it's a bit high, the street sweeping fee, but.
How much is it?
Yes.
Yes, I'm in favor of the current fee. You gotta get people's attention. You know, if you stick it down $5, they don't care about parking there when they're sweeping the streets.
Right, well, the reason why we sweep the streets is if we have too much stuff, we actually get fined from the county. So, you know, we need to remind people to stay off those streets. I would be in favor of at least one waiver. I've paid hundreds of dollars because I have a trailer, and even though you get a trailer permit to park there, you still get a ticket. if it's parked there. So I don't get that one. So I'm following the thing around. So at least one waiver would be good. Every now and then, I mean, it's my fault, but one waiver would be nice. But we do need to make sure we have those because we do get fined from the county if we don't, if we have too much debris going in the sewer.
Erik, why does the street sweeper have to have 2 pickup trucks following it with 2 people in each pickup truck?
Well, I think one stops in tickets and the other one moves ahead in
But
tickets.
there's 2 people in each truck.
That's a personnel problem. I understand, yeah, and maybe that's something that can be looked at. Maybe they're dropping them off.
Okay, this next is a revenue question, so think about the way this is worded. I am unclear on how you can ensure that new growth will produce income that exceeds the continuing costs. What mechanism will you use or advocate to obtain that income?
Well, I think we have had development here down Beach and Ettinger. I think we need to step back and measure that. Actually find out what's going to happen to our city. How's it impacting us? Are we getting the bang for our buck, or is it costing us? Before we start moving forward with the other 4,000 living units down Beach. You know, let's step back and say, hey, are we getting what we paid for? That's exactly how I do it, be able to measure it.
I would say instead we should be doing commercial development instead of residential development because that's going to add to our tax base. That brings in income to the city. So I think we can ensure it better that way, and that's what I would be advocating. So as we're looking at our general plan and updating it, citizens, let's get involved and try to push for more commercial and not the residential so much. Thank you.
I'm an advocate for commercial development as well, and I spoke about it earlier about the Wintersburg historic property where it was originally zoned for 66 condos, and now it's going to be commercial industrial. It's less city service intensive, less water, less police, hopefully less fire, and that's really, I think, the way to do it is look at more balance, more economic development, better commercial and industrial, or less intensive on city services.
I strongly agree with you on the Beach Ettinger corridor for those new units that are coming up to see the cost which is attributed to that on our city service, police calls, fire calls, because we need to make sure that we capture that. But if you look at Costco that was built a couple of years ago, it's brought a lot of sales tax into our community. I'm a big believer in more commercial development and retail, and give the folks the incentive to come to our city. There's one thing that I learned from the gentleman that was involved with the Huntington Beach Visitors Bureau. There's a lot of people that come to our city, but some people come with a t-shirt and $10 and they don't change any. We need to figure out a way how we capture some funds from those guys. That's what I would strongly believe.
I agree. I think it needs to have a new look just to see how we're coming along. And commercial development is important, but we really have to have balance. We have to, I mean, when you buy a house today in Huntington Beach, your entry level is $600,000. So for those of you who have children out there that may want to stay in town, we have to have new product. So, but it has to be done correctly. And as passionately as I am against rent control, I think there's ways that we can provide our seniors better housing. And I'm even seeing seniors now sell their homes because they're too big for them and they want to move down and get smaller apartment or whatever. So that's what's good thing about the Beach Ettinger corridor. It's brought a little bit of diversity for the whole program. Yes, it has to be looked at, and I'm certainly willing to do that. I believe that overall, at the end of the day, we need to see that there's a benefit to the city. We have higher monies coming in more going out. Thank you.
Okay, before we get to the desalinization density questions. We have a question about the police retirement system. And in the process of answering, somebody wants to know, Billy O'Connell, are you a former policeman? The question has to do with what, if anything, will you do about the 3% at 50 police and fire pension?
It's very, very simple for me. Governor Brown has brought into a program basically all new hirees will have a different retirement schedule when we fall.
But that is in a lawsuit right now. That could end tomorrow.
Well, the contracts that have been negotiated by previous city council folks, they're binding contracts, they're legally binding contracts, and me as a city council person, I cannot do anything about a legally law-abiding contract.
Okay, I'd like to hear from the other candidates. Barbara?
Well, Mr. O'Connell's correct on what he just said. Until we know, until that lawsuit is filed, there is nothing that, those cannot be changed. But I think the best thing what we can do is to, what Erik said earlier, is we just need, as we go forward, they are hiring new people, they are paying higher into the pensions. These are the new ones coming on. So they are paying their complete share, 9%, the new ones are paying 12%. So unless something changes in the law, there's nothing a city council can do unless that lawsuit is done.
Really nothing more to add, it's in the hands of the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the question has been answered, that the law is decided, until the suit is decided, there isn't really anything we can do, but it is certainly something we'd like to change if it occurred, I suppose, so.
Well, when I was on the finance board, we got the CalPERS book, and it had all their plans, and 3 at 50 was the top plan. There was other plans in there. So I think we need to, you know, the governor's doing his thing, who knows what's gonna happen with that, but as we go forward, CalPERS offers other plans. If we're sticking with CalPERS, let's get a different plan for the new hires. I mean, the 3 at 50 is completely unsustainable. There's nothing, there's no math, even the new Common Core math isn't good to fix that.
And just by way of background, when I was working for a living, I still had to deal with these pension issues. And that 3% at 50 was passed in the 1990s, when we had all this money coming into the state from the dot-com companies. Well, you know what happened to the dot-com companies? But that retirement plan, which was originally passed for the California Highway Patrol, was picked up by the police, picked up by the fire, and so of course everybody had to get on the bandwagon to be competitive. And then of course the non-police employees then were able to jack their plan up from 2% to 2.5%. So this is part of what happens when we aren't paying full attention to what's going on in government. And I'm sure glad to see all of you folks here tonight because we're paying attention. Okay, desalinization plant. Where's the mic? Okay. What is your opinion on having a desalinization plant? Why or why not? What are your pros and cons?
Well, pros for desal is we're in an arid community. We have an aquifer. We get 70% of our water from that aquifer, but it is regulated by the water district. So we could be getting less in the future if there's a water shortage. The desal is not necessarily for us, but it's like any other utility. We get tax off every acre we sell. So I think that's a bonus for our customer, or for our community. We have emergency water, which if there's a big earthquake, our citizens can go down there and get emergency water. That's a benefit. In our contract with the current Poseidon, we actually have made them pull a bond before construction that if they fail, that gets turned back into a dirt lot and everything they've done gets fixed. So I think we have protections in there. I think in the long run, desal will be good. We'll get to see a desal plan in action before we get ours, the one in Carlsbad, and if there's a problem with that, then we can address it.
So clearly we are in a severe drought situation here, and as Erik said, our climate is arid. So yes, we need alternative water sources. And desal is kind of the last new source of water that we could have. And it's being done successfully in other parts of the world. Poseidon, I would like to see the plant operating successfully, really producing lots of water down in San Diego before it operates here. But I think that we need to look at desal. It's definitely, it's gonna happen in the future, and we just need to make sure that we have the protection in place for the current contractor that might be doing it. Thank you.
I think we all read the newspapers, we know what the situation is with water. Desal has been approved by city council twice before us. Makes sense to do it in Huntington Beach, the land is available. And the intake will help cool AES for energy. Energy will be going back from AES back to desal to power it, right next to each other. Like Erik said, there's a bond in place, so if it doesn't work out, they've got to restore it back the way it was. While it's under construction, lots of good jobs for construction, and I know there's not very many jobs there. What is it? I don't forget the numbers, but 12, yeah, it was under 15, so yeah, 12 jobs to run the plant. So I think it's good for the city of Huntington Beach, it's good for the county of Orange. Need the water, and that's about the only place it's going to come from. And it's working in the Middle East, it's working all over the world.
I think we as a city should be water independent. I think Poseidon will be another avenue for us to be water independent in the future. And what I also like about this is that the city of Huntington Beach gets first tabs in the water in the contract, which will be very beneficial for us moving forward.
I too am in favor of Poseidon and desal, and more so now than ever. I don't know if you paid attention in the news a couple weeks ago, but in the city of in Michigan, they had a problem. City very similar to ours with the aquifer, substantive with water, but it was contaminated. So I'm sure the city of Huntington Beach would have a different tune if all of a sudden we didn't have an aquifer. We must be diverse. It's just like our investments. We must be diverse. And to the comments before, emergency water would come to us first. We'd have a 50 million gallon storage tank here for our use. And the money's coming to the city. Much of it would come first up front and then over the life of the desal plant. The one in Carlsbad is coming online 9 months ahead of schedule, so I think we'll have an opportunity to see that one, and if something needs to be adjusted, then we can have it done at that time. Thanks.
Ron, quick question. How many of you live in Southeast? How many of the 5 of you live in Southeast? Do any of you live in Southeast?
Downtown. What is Southeast? Downtown.
If you live in Southeast, you know. So none of you live in Southeast. Okay, that's what I need to know.
Okay, here's a couple of questions where we can have a show with the red or green. Again, green means yes, and red means no. Are you in favor of high-density housing, i.e. the beach edge or specific plan?
It's a bad question.
Read it
It's a
again.
bad question.
Read the question again.
Okay, the question is, are you in favor of high-density housing, i.e. the beach edge or specific plan?
No.
Needs to be revised. Needs to be revised.
It's a bad question.
I'm not a yes or no girl. I'm going to answer to you directly. AB 32 and SB 375, look it up when you go home. We have mandated rules by the state that the city had to apply for. No, none of us up here are for, no, none of us for density housing. However, we did have to respond to the mandates to our city and our community. Would you have rather had all those apartments here in the middle of the community? No, I thought, considering the choices that we had, they're on the northern part of the city, next to the freeway. Caltrans is going to be updating the freeway. They're the ones that have to do the on-ramp and the off-ramp. We cannot do that as a city. That is Caltrans, so we're limited. But the great thing about that is it keeps, instead of having all those cars come through the city, They're on the northern part of the city, they get people out, less vehicles travel, that's what that's demanding. The lady spoke earlier, the lady named Carol, about SB 69. This is part of that. This is exactly what it is. They want to raise your gas plan? Well, this is how they're doing it in all the cities. They're demanding that density be done, and it's done by apartments. We have no more room for housing. You can't have traps on homes. So, thank you.
Guys, okay, let's pass the microphone down, if anybody else wants to say anything.
I'm happy to speak about it. Density is not a bad word. Density is affordability. We can't build single-family homes everywhere. Shake your head all you want, but it's not a bad thing. We had young people that want to live in Huntington Beach. The entry level for a house is $600,000. These apartments rent for $2,000, $2,500. They're not cheap apartments. They're not for low-income people. They're for people that can afford, that would like to afford to live here. I'm not an Agenda 21 acolyte. I'm not for public transportation, taxpayers paying for light rail, and buses, and all this stuff. But I am for growth, and I am for bringing young people here. Young people start businesses, young people go to work, young people generate taxes, and so do apartment buildings, and so do apartments that get converted into condos. So,
But Mike, there's 1.5 parking spaces per apartment. What's going to happen in Belletera? You can't find a parking place there right now. When they finish that complex, what are the businesses going to do?
Parking is probably a problem. I didn't build a corridor specific plan. Well, and I think also that one of the things that we're seeing here is the Beach Energy Corridor specific plan is popping up all at once. This was passed 6-7 years ago when there was a recession. There was no money from the banks. There was nobody building anything. They're popping up all at once. There's a visual impact that's probably shocking. It's shocking to me. But that's what happened.
Okay, folks, I want to remind everybody, we're going to follow the rules for tonight. We want to hear from each of the candidates on each of the questions so that the members of HBRA can vote after this meeting on who they're going to support. I know it's hard to just sit here and listen. It's sort of like watching Fox News and you want to throw something at it. But please, we're going to go for about 5 more minutes and then in between our recess and the start of the HBRA meeting at 8:30, you'll have an opportunity to talk one-on-one with the candidates. Okay, so we're going to finish on this question with Lynn and then Erik.
You know, live work, which is what this whole concept is supposed to be on Beach and Edger, is a great concept when done right. You know, in the urban core down in San Diego, there's some beautiful live work projects. In Aliso Viejo, there's some beautiful projects because it was complete open space. They could plan it from the beginning. They didn't impact anything else that was there. But that's not what we have in Huntington Beach. We're doing infill projects here and there without the transportation in place, without the public infrastructure in place. We're collecting monies, but we're not actually doing it near these projects. So it's just not being done right. I think we got ahead of ourselves, and in this instance, I'm against high density.
You know, there's a lot of cities, Aliso Viejo, Yorba Linda, Villa Park, all of them are pushing back on this. I see no reason why we can't. The state mandates we can push back on before it destroys our city. I think we have enough development, but when you put 6 stories in a strip mall in front of Beach and Ellis, where there's Section 8 housing that had 200 and some police calls for drugs, and now you just built them underground parking? You know, we have to look at it as a safety. Our firefighters have to fight in these high rises. These wood structures, look at Belletera. It's more dangerous for them too. It's more dangerous, it leads to a bigger impact in our community, it requires more city services. I think we need to really focus or take a look at it and make sure that we're doing the best for our community, not for what the county and state want us to do.
Okay, we have 3 more questions. Gloria wants to know if any of you were on the planning commission that voted for all these apartments. Right?
Yeah, I think 2 of us were. So we voted I voted against some, I voted for some. You have to remember, Beach Edger's specific plan is a plan. It has rules. It says here, if developer, if you do 1 through 10, you're approved. We have to have conditions to deny. So there's projects I voted for that I hate. There's projects that I found problems with that I was able to vote against. There's projects like the one across the street that never even came to planning commission because they didn't require a variance or anything. So it's very difficult. This plan was given to us by the planning department and city council, and we have to abide by rules. And unless we can get in there and find a problem with the project, it's very hard to deny them. So.
I was not on the planning commission during the time that these came through. And if I was, I would have voted against them.
I wasn't on the planning commission, either. These were projects, the beach edge recorder specific plan was voted on, I think, 6-7 years ago, so.
No, not the plan, the project.
The project.
I wasn't there for the plan. That would have been no.
I wasn't on the planning commission when any of these came.
I was, and I will tell you that the city and a consultant did about 8, maybe 10, what do they call them, town hall meetings of residents around them, and so they did have public input on it. And Mike's right. A lot of the problems is a lot of this has come on all at once. We haven't had any apartments built in the city in over 25 years. There is no money for condominiums. The buildings behind, I think it's King's Fish House, they were supposed to be condos. There's no condo money available, so they're apartments. So to Eric's point, things change. We don't always get to have it how we think it's going to be and it's going to roll out. The other thing is this is a long-term plan, 15 to 25 years. You have to think about this in a visionary way as well. People are not happy about it right now, so we'll have our chance to input on it. Thanks.
Okay, we'll get to the last question, but just a little bit of background. Remember, here in California, the state legislature passes the laws that affect all of us. We have about 400 cities that are called general law cities. So they have no choice. They have to abide strictly by what the legislature passed. There's another group of cities, I'm not positive about the number, but it's on the order of 60, that have a city charter. The city charter allows some exceptions. But in the realm of housing and zoning, there are very few options available to either planning commissions or city councils. And I think that's what the candidates were trying to say, that unless something comes up against an obvious negative that's already in the law, then they have to vote to approve it. So that's part of the difficulty of representing you, that they have to represent you within the legal framework that is passed by the state legislature. So think about that when you go to vote for a state assembly and state senate. That's setting the context. Okay, last question. I'm going to roll the last question.
Can I have one question, Professor? Is that because we took their money in their economic development plan money? If we can take it, we could do what we want.
No, money's not the issue.
Part of it is the issue.
If your question, David, gets to the complexity of being on both the planning commission and the city council. So anyway, let's get this. You've all been very patient. Let's get this last question. I'm going to roll 2 of them into one. Does anyone believe high-density housing is good for the city? Is there anything that we can do to stop it? How do you feel about the city taking this into consideration on the next 20-year plan that's considering global warming issues? So first, Mike, we'll start down on this point.
Is there a question in there?
Yeah. Anything that can be done to stop the process. The 20-year plan review is underway right now, and do we have to consider the global warming issues?
Yeah, wait, start the question again.
Yeah. Is there any way we can stop this high density?
Okay. To the point about the council and the state, there's mandates in the city. We also have regional housing numbers that have to be built in our communities. I'm not trying to impress you with fancy names and number, but a lot of us who have served on the planning commission, it takes time to get to understand all of this. In one meeting, it's not an easy, simple slam dunk and then understand it all. The best way that we can make a change is have you folks show up and share your upset or concerns about density housing. We do need to Mike's point about having the youth still want to stay in our community. There are reasons to have density in certain areas. It does get people out of their car. It's not that I want it everywhere. I'm talking about diversity. We are not building more homes. So where are we going to have people live? The mistake, I think, on this beach-Edinger corridor is that we didn't get to have our rollout of our transportation plan at the same time. I used the analogy the other night. How many of you here have cooked Thanksgiving dinner? Come on, how many of you cooked in here? All right, does it all come out hot, every single thing that you put on the table? No. So sometimes the turkey does, and then you have other things you have to add to it. That's where we've been a little bit slow at the switch. There's things that can be done. Your contribution is important. You should speak up and come to the town hall meetings. That's the other thing about the general plan that's going on right now, because this is the vision for this city, your city. If you want to make changes and you don't like something, show up and make your voice heard. Thank you.
I strongly believe that everybody needs to get more involved, but also I would like to echo about the regional housing needs assessment, which is mandated by the state of California for every city in California, basically, where they say you have to develop a certain percentage of housing, which is either low income, middle income. Regarding the high density moving forward, the beach-Edinger plan will be up for review. And I think it's time for us to take a look at that and see the impact it's having on our city. And if we need to make changes, that will be the time to make those changes. I also tell you, I would also like to share with you, I would love to see the opportunity for my kids to be able to afford to live in our city. But at $2,500 a month or $2,000 a month for a one bedroom, I don't think they can afford that.
Well, they also can't, maybe, at least my kids can't afford a $600,000 entry level house. Maybe they can afford $2,500 a month in rent. I don't know if there's anything to stop it. I mean, you can, if you want to get involved, I've been in the planning commission for just a year, and there was almost never anybody there making public comments. It's a ghost town there. City council, the only time people come out to the city council is plastic bags, fireworks, styrofoam, but nothing that's of city substance. I would encourage you, if you don't want density, show up at the city council meeting, show up at the planning commission. Sign up at the HB the Next Wave and get involved in the general plan update. All of this stuff is laid out, including how many residential housing units we need to provide in the city of Huntington Beach as we have a growing population. You can't pull up the drawbridge and say, sorry, we're full, go someplace else. We have room to develop, we have infill to develop, and it's going to be some high density. Thank you.
So others have already talked about the fact that we are doing the general plan update, and the specific plan for beach-Edinger will come up as well. And so yes, we need to get involved, but there does seem to be a bit of an agenda by the city planning department, I guess you might say, to move forward with this. We've asked questions at the study session on the planning commission, and they've certainly asked a lot of questions at the GPAC committees, and you're on that as well, that don't get answered. We asked them, why do we have 14 elements in our plan when the requirement is to only have 7? And we haven't gotten answers. So, what's it going to take? It's going to take citizens getting involved. It's going to take you all showing up and, supporting those questions and getting your questions answered as well. So I think that that's what needs to happen.
Like I said, other cities have been successful in stopping this. Our RENA numbers they're talking about, we have a surplus. We have more than RENA's requiring. Just went for our housing element. I voted against that housing element because I don't necessarily think we're bringing the bridge up, but I wouldn't mind if my house goes up in value and not down in value. I mean, I don't mind if my kids have to live in Westminster until they can afford to live here. I don't think we need to be everything for everyone. I mean, we have a good balance here. When I left home, I lived downtown. It was, that's where everyone lives. You live downtown. And there's plenty of apartments in the city. Then we have condos, we have mobile homes, we have single-family homes, we have nicer tracts over in Southeast and up here. We have McMansions on the beach. We have a great surplus. And I think we're tipping the balance to rental properties. And I don't think that helps any of us homeowners. You know, I think it actually might have a bad effect on it.
Well, due to the brilliant time management.
Oh, and no global warming, or whatever you said.
We are right on schedule. I want to thank Gabriella for being our timekeeper. I want to thank all of you for your forbearance of not wanting to jump up. I know for some of you, Dick, Lori, it's really hard to just sit there and not say anything. So at this point, we have about 15 minutes for the candidates to get a drink of water, freshen up at all, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to Pat Garcia, and he will explain what happens at 8:30. Pat?
No problem. It's just